Welcome to the video lecture series Culture, Worldview, and Origins. We're Tim and Holly Nyquist. We've been going through the series on culture. We started with culture. We did the 21 characteristics, tendencies, differences between my Western type of thinking and many of my students that characterized a non-Western type of thinking, and how those two thinking patterns were actually very difficult to communicate or to teach within the classroom setting. There had to be a lot of bridges, had to be understood what was going on. They perceived things differently, saw things differently, computed, processed things differently. And what we're looking at is that Stephen Jay Gould had said that culture influences the way that one perceives things, the way that one looks at things, or even what he chooses to look at. So we want to know, how does culture do that? We saw the 21 differences of how culture can influence that. Then he talked about theory and prejudice. And that's where we looked into worldview, and how worldview is actually one of three concepts, German concepts. The worldview is called Weltanschauung, and actually there was a previous or a base concept called Weltbild, which was world picture, which meant that there's a picture of the world that is formed within us subconsciously and then consciously through our environment, through our upbringing, through our school system, through our parents, our family, and that those factors kind of form us in a way of thinking. We come out with a picture of the world, and then through that picture of the world, we look at the world, which is worldviewing, Weltanschauung. And then through the worldviewing, we view the world, then we understand the world and try to make a model of the world function. And that is the modeling which we are in this series looking at, is scientific models of origins. There are different models that have been constructed to reflect what each one believes to be reality. We're Tim and Holly Nyquist. You can contact us through the blog spot or through the email. This is the fifth part now, the fifth video in this series on the Western view of building a thinking process. The house that is behind me, this side, is got the foundation, which we've gone over, which is the assumed source of reliable knowledge. We choose that, and out of that reliable knowledge source, then we able to extract the basic belief system, four basic beliefs that are corollaries of the foundational choice that we've made of our source of reliable knowledge. Then on top of the belief system, we have a systematic way of thinking, philosophy. On top of the philosophy, we have methods. On top of the methods, we have, then it's a type of science. And on that top of science now, we are now building how that science works, how it functions, what are the limitations of it, or how does it follow the rules? How does it follow the guidelines? How does it model what it is supposed to model? What we're building on top of the science now are the resources that science has to work with, to explain things, to understand how things happen. Resources. Pillar or resource number one. The first pillar represents the resources available to this model. Okay, this model of origins, this model of science, is limited by its foundation, its source of reliable knowledge, its basic belief system, its systematic system of philosophy, its methods of getting to reliable knowledge, which then produces a scientific model. Well, that scientific model now, what does it have to work with? What does it have as resources to be explanatory, to explain things with? This one, the number one pillar resource is matter and energy. Matter and energy, in whatever system you have of explanation, there has to be something eternal. There has to be something, and since we're in a closed system, it's basically all eternal. It's all never had a beginning, nor can it have an end. And so matter and energy are the sources that are resources that this model has to explain things by. But it's not the only pillar, not the only set of resources. On going back now, we're just putting up another column. Okay, let's go to the second column on top. You can see, I'll move a little bit so you can see and try to remember the diagram of how it goes. The second column that is on top of this thing, on top of this building project, the second pillar is this. The second pillar represents the resources available to this model is time and chance. Chance meaning that it's random. It's not programmed. It's not planned. It's not the following out the end will of any mind or any other product. Is that it is by chance. It's by random production, and it's over time. And so what we have is two models or two resources. We have two resources of what resources this model has to explain things by. It's matter and energy combined with time and chance. So that is what this model has to work with. Okay, so now taking those origins, or I mean those resources based on this model, matter, energy plus time and chance, how would this model, the scientific model of origins, explain the origin of the universe? Well, it would be with matter floating in space. Where did the matter come from? Doesn't matter. It's eternal. It was there. So was the space. And there's all different kinds of views on this or theories, but it was like concentrated into a very small point, a very small ball. I'm not going to say how small it was. There's differing opinions on that. And then it floated through space for who knows how long. But then there was an injection of some type of energy. And that energy destabilized the matter to the point that over time and by chance it exploded. And over time and by chance, that explosion hurled all these pieces, all this matter into the outer reaches of space, and over time and chance they formed into galaxies, into star systems, planets. They formed into what we observe today and what we are standing on today, planet Earth. So it was time, matter, energy, and chance. The origin of the universe, Big Bang. Was it a Big Bang? Well, the Big Bang theory is a way of looking at things through the basis of human reason, logic, through the rules that are come out of that, through the methods and the available resources. The available resources are matter and energy, time and chance. So you have matter, you have energy, you have an explosion, and over time, by chance, you get the universe system. So it fits. It fits the model. It fits the house. So it is a theory that is congruent with or that it fits. So that's the origin of the universe. Origin of life. Well, now you have planet Earth. You have water. You have mud, slime, whatever. You have a sun now that is heating this earth. And through the matter and through the energy, then you have spontaneous life over time. By chance, life has developed, life has appeared. And it only happened once. So even though there's different ponds, there's a lot of slime, there's a lot of water, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of sun, it happened once, which is pretty close to a miracle. It is a miracle of nature or a miracle of God. But so the origin of life, it fits because you have matter, energy, time, and chance. You have a product. So, is it true? Well, that's another thing we need to figure out is that, but how do we know truth? Because we are so guided by our parameters, by our grids, by our viewing, our theories. How do we get to truth? We just have to assume this is true if we assume the belief system under it. The origin of man. Old world monkey, a previous species that was then somehow mutated because of energy, release of energy of some type that caused mutations, and over time those mutations were beneficial enough to change the genetic, the DNA, the makeup to being a higher level. I don't know if we're higher, but anyway. So the origin of man fits the model because it is matter, previous matter. It is energy that is then causes the conditions of mutation, and then over time and chance, we have man. Again, is it true? It fits the model. It is true to the model that it is in. So that is third floor scientific model, number 3, or it's the third floor, it's point number 13. Number 14 is the roof. And in 14, we're done with the house. 14 is the conclusion based on this scientific model. That includes the conclusion, it includes the values, the ethics, and our outlook on life. What if we are the owner of this house, what do we conclude? Well, looking down for a floor or two and looking out from the balcony or sitting on the roof, man concludes that the supernatural domain does not exist. God does not exist. Therefore, the Creator God of the Bible cannot exist. That is man's conclusion, and that is the conclusion of this house. And this house that is built from the bottom up, and it is a very logical, it is very coherent, and it goes all the way to the top, to the roof, to the conclusion that the supernatural domain does not exist. And if the supernatural domain does not exist, then therefore the Creator God of the Bible cannot exist either. We finished the house. The house is done. We're going to have one more lecture on this series next, wrapping up, but hope that this has clarified some things, or at least maybe started some things of digging into it, of looking into things. And this has not been a short, it's only been, you're right, a few hours course that I've developed based on 40 years of struggling with this issue, of working on it myself. So we are just trying to do a quick review, a quick introduction to what we found out, to what's going on, and to invite you to maybe to dig into it yourself. There is a bottom. There is a way to get to it. There is a way to understand the different models, and just applying. I believe this criteria that comes from Stephen Jay Gould. Thank you. That of just culture. Look at culture and how that influences, and then prejudices, and then theories and habits, and how that transforms our thinking and perceiving processes into us practicing and modeling a product after the world, and understanding the world through that. Again, thank you for accompanying me. We're Tim and Holly. You can contact us through those addresses, and we've got one more lecture to go in this series on the Western house. Then we will start the non-Western house. Thanks for accompanying me.